You know, Nerdy Manus, what I learned? What? I learned swimming. But why? As you know, I couldn't swim well on this water and ponds and all this stuff.
That's a good thing to really discuss about.
Let's discuss it. Okay, so really to start, that we float on water or we couldn't float on water on the earth, let's just think about buoyancy. What is buoyancy? As you float, your weight presses down into the water presses you back, like the Newton's third law, and you get a push up. Now, when you get into the pool, your body displaces a volume of water, the hole in the water that your body fits into. As long as the water your body displaces weighs more than you do, you float. And that is the basic funda of Archimedes' principle or law, whatever you tell it. Right. Nerdy Manus, everyone doesn't float alike. I've seen some of my friends float greatly, but I can't. Is it that I'm really fatty, or is it that I have muscles? Please tell the answer, Nerdy Manus. So, as it turns out, everyone floats in the water at their own natural level. So, different factors contribute to high or low in the water you float. So, what are the factors? Let's explore some. First, your body type has a lot to do with your buoyancy. Fat floats, as you have probably heard, while your bones and muscles, denser than the fat, are not willing to float. So fatty persons have a better chance of floating than the muscly ones. But also the relative size of your lungs to the rest of your body actually determines how high in the water your body will float. Okay. Nerdy Manus, you're forgetting an important factor. The density of water. Saltier waters weighs more per unit volume. So you will float higher in saltier water, the Red Sea for instance, than you would in fresh water. Remember that. It's an important factor. Okay, the density of water is a factor that everyone will probably tell about you. Like, water has density of 1000 kg per meter cube for information, and our average density of human is about 985 kgs per meter cube, and when you inhale air in it, it becomes even lighter, 945 kgs per meter cube. But let's hop on to finally a curious phenomenon. This is apparently even a more greater factor than buoyancy while you're floating on water, and that's it. For some people, like in deep water, actually the Mellon Dash of Transpersonal Swimming Institute, it's an institute which basically points out that buoyancy and feeling buoyancy, note that fact, feeling buoyancy are two different things. You can be buoyant but not feel. They are the two different things. Your buoyant does not change between the shallow and the deep, but your feeling of buoyancy may change, and this is a very important factor. What your psychology tells you really matters at the end of the day for your determining that you will float in the water or not. It may sound a bit absurd, but it's really a record or a report that is being gotten by a good institute. Now, the pool bottom is closer in the shallow end and farther away at the deep end. Because it's so close in the shallow end, and you can use it any time, it may also be a distraction. Some of your awareness, that is, some of your attention or presence, is on the bottom. When the distraction is not there in the deep, due to the fact that we can't use the bottom there, people often feel more buoyant in the deep. Their awareness is all at the surface rather than their awareness being at the bottom, as in the shallow. A factor you can control is how relaxed you are. It's kind of interrelated with this previous factor. Tense muscles often keep your body a bit lower in water, since many people breathe more shallowly and rapidly when tense, hence less air into the lungs for floating. So did you ever play thinking heavy game as a kid? You would be harder to pick up if you imagined yourself to be as heavy as a piano. Easier to pick up if you pretended to be a balloon, as light as a balloon. Again, we have our natural level of buoyancy. And then there are those who don't float at all. And far fewer than people actually realize. Note that. But Nerdy Manus, no matter how low in the water you float or glide or swim, it has nothing to do with ultimately learning to swim, which I have done. You don't have. You just read and read and read. Period. You'll adjust your stroke, roll your face out of a bit more to get your air and swim. And that's the art of swimming. Remember that. Don't ever shun from swimming. But Nerdy Manus, maybe that on the earth I can float on water because maybe there's a bit more gravity pulling on me, and probably in the moon, where the gravity is just a sixth as that of the earth, maybe I could swim, and maybe I could float pretty well. Or is there even water on? What are your thoughts on it, Nerdy Manus? So you want to float on moon, but before floating on moon, Is there water on the moon? That's the first question that we should address, I guess. And as it turns out, surprisingly, it's a yes. Veritasium explains
Is
it.
there
Let's
water
dare it.
on the
Explains
moon?
it in quite detail
The
in this
obvious
video.
answer seems
The
to
link will be in
be
the
no,
description.
because during a
So, there is water on the moon, probably ponds and lakes and all those stuff. So, can you still float on the moon? Water or ponds? And the answer turns out to be no. Why, man? Wouldn't I be lighter in the moon? What's your reasoning in it? Let's hear it. It turns out that gravity has nothing to do, not a single thing to do with buoyancy. No way it works like that. So as you see, when you were on the moon, trying to float on the moon ponds and all that stuff, moon is actually pulling on the water just as much as it's pulling on me, but it pulls on the water a little bit more as the water is a little more dense than me. And what really matters is the density. Because if you really remember the mathematical principles of Archimedes' principle, that basically states that V rho G equals mg, where m is the mass of me, v is the volume that I displace while floating on the water, and rho is the density, corresponding densities. So you can see that G really cancels off, and G really doesn't matter in whichever planet you go. What really matters is the density. And you can also think of it like that it really matters that how hard I press on it, and how hard the water really pushes on you. It has nothing to do with gravity. And so that's it. So you just float as fine as on the moon. Just float as fine as you will be floating on the Earth, because the same buoyancy as on the Earth, because it is independent of the gravitational factor, so that